Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Slow Intimacy Secrets podcast. My name is Lauren. My co-host, Jules, author of Slow Intimacy Secrets. Welcome to episode 2. We are so happy to be back and recording a second episode that talks about all of the amazing slow intimacy secrets that Julie covers in her book. And yeah, what do you think of episode 1? How'd you feel?
I loved it, really. Yeah, I feel like we've got so much to share together.
Agreed. Totally agreed. So part of the intro of this book has a quote by Paulo Coelho, who we both love, amazing author. And I just want to read the quote, and I would love to hear your thoughts on it and why you chose to include it at the beginning of the book. The quote says, "Maybe the journey isn't so much about becoming anything. Maybe it's about unbecoming everything that isn't you, so you can be who you were meant to be in the first place."
Absolutely, I love that quote. I think it's also very accurate in the world of intimacy because after a couple of years, you've been intimate with people. Yeah, you just kind of go into this automatic, oh, I need to do this, and then after that I need to do this, and then in this robot form. But in slow intimacy, I feel like it's almost very beneficiary for you if you unlearn everything, you just forget about everything you ever learned, and then you kind of step into this new white slate, right? Where maybe you can understand originally what you were meant to understand from the beginning.
I love that. And I feel like the unlearning is so much about unlearning, like, love to our parents, but a lot of it is about like unlearning things that we got passed down from our parents or
Oh, so much.
expectations. Yeah.
So
And
much.
you've done that in your personal life a lot, I think. I see you as someone who's very free and like you're constantly reinventing yourself and starting these new amazing ventures. And I don't know, I love taking that attitude, from greater life and applying it to like intimacy life. I think
Yeah.
that's cool.
Transformation. Yeah. It's like this little, it's like the butterfly, right?
Oh my God. And I love the little cartoon that you included in the book.
You've
So what it
changed
said.
so much, but we are meant to.
Yes. I'm
Yeah, I
all
love
flying away.
it.
Well, I love that the goal of this book is to lead just like a more pleasure filled life. I mean, who doesn't want that? But it's interesting, like the kind of like societal pressures that are placed on us that get in the way of that. Um, I've heard this saying that comparison is the thief of joy, but I think there's other things that steal our joy and steal our pleasure as well. And I'm wondering if you've noticed anything just come up in like regular everyday life that kind of takes away from pleasure and ways that you're able to kind of like rewire your brain.
So for me, for example, COVID uh, really came like a blessing because I'm a little bit of a workaholic. I mean, I love my job, but not complaining. But the fact that suddenly the whole travel sector was down, it means like the hotel, the travel agency, the retreats, the festivals, like everything that basically was who I was, um, just stopped. And that's where I managed to actually ask myself the question, like, what do you actually want? And that's when I started writing these books, because I was like, actually, I want to write. That's what I really want. And it's really come as a blessing for me. I mean, definitely financial suicide, but I mean, when I wake up and I just go to write, it just brings me so much joy. I have this new inspiration in me where I like think about something and I write it down, and I have this notebook, and I go to the co-working space and I write, and I put this discipline on myself. And yeah, everything is about learning and contemplating and understanding the lessons and seeing how I can pay it forward. And that
Hmm.
brings me joy every day now. So I cannot even imagine going back to who I was before.
Right? It's like painful to think about that sometimes. You're like, oh God, I could never do that again.
But I think it's beautiful because I mean, we are so lucky, you know? I mean, how many times did we wish for the world to stop, even just for a moment, you know?
Mm,
And
true.
it has. I mean, okay, it's not great and all positive all the time. And oh my God, all the people that are sick and passed away, I'm sorry for them. But the world has actually stopped. And we have that space and time to just, yeah, know what we actually want.
Hmm. And it's been a full year officially of
Yeah.
COVID pandemic life. And I know for myself personally, and so many of my friends, like this time has really demanded of us to like take stock of our lives. And so many people I know are like pivoting into a different career space or starting a new business, even though it seems crazy to
Yeah.
do that
Yeah,
right
but so
now.
people do, huh? There's even on this tiny island in Gili Air, there's this local man. He's amazing. His name's Harry. And he started this tiny little restaurant called Lockdown
Lockdown
Kitchen.
Kitchen.
I
I
mean,
love
come
Harry.
on. And he's like started with delivery, then he opened a tiny restaurant, and now he's got this really nice restaurant, like
Oh
super.
my
He's like
God.
actually made a living in the pandemic, so it's possible.
Harry's the best. I remember when it was just his wife Linda does all the cooking, and I remember when it was just him like doing deliveries starting out. He invited us over for oh gosh, what was the holiday? He said it
Idul
was
Fitr
basic. What's that?
after Ramadan,
Yeah.
Idul Fitr, Idul Fitr.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
And she
it's so
made the
good, yeah.
best
Like a
dinner.
food fest. It's
Oh
like
my
Christmas for
God.
us, really.
Yeah, that's what he was saying. I was like,
You
why
can
are
take
you
your bowl
inviting?
home.
Yeah. I was like, why are you inviting me to your house for like
Yeah, because they
basically
love
your
you.
version of Christmas?
They
Oh,
love you.
so good. Well, I think so for me, trying to like stay in that zone of like pleasure and positivity and high vibrations versus like low vibration, it's always a struggle personally, but I was pretty proud of myself yesterday. Um, this guy cut me off in traffic and then basically slammed on his brakes. I don't know if he was trying to like
Oh,
get me to hit him. It was a crazy scenario. And
I hate
I
that.
like barely missed hitting his car. I just stopped and I was like, oh my God, like, what is your problem? And he got out of his car, started screaming outside my window.
Oh
And
my
where I
God.
would, in any other scenario, like if this had happened at another time, I probably would have lost it or started crying or something. And I just kind of looked at him, like hollering at me. And I was like, don't yell at me. Like, get back in
Good.
your car and don't yell at me. I don't know you. And he got back
Calm
in his
is a
car.
superpower.
It felt like the Lord took over my body, honestly. I
Yeah.
could not believe it. Um, so I think these are little like signs of growth. Like
Yeah.
over here, it's springtime, like there's new flowers popping up. Like I feel these like seeds that I've planted and worked on, these are signs of growth that I'm, I'm with it. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
But, anyways, back to the book.
Back to
Um,
intimacy.
I have, okay, so basically, my method of making my way through this book for the podcast is to take these little nuggets that you talk about and in the book, and I don't know. I just want to like hear your perspective on it in a more like
Of course,
conversational
yes.
setting. So I wrote down a couple bullet points. Maybe you can tell me which ones grab your attention first. Your first orgasm, sex education, like the reality of what it was versus what it could be, different types of intimacy, Polynesian style slow sex. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot that we could talk about.
I really like
Aphrodisiac.
Polynesian style slow sex.
Okay, tell me about it.
So I was reading, where did I read this? In a book somewhere. And then I started to research it, right? And so yeah, in Polynesia, obviously they are really comfortable with nudity. The women are naked on the beach, you know, they just have a little bottoms on, and but the breasts are out in the open, and so kind of men grow up, you know, seeing a woman's body and being, you know, totally okay with it, like kind of having your sexual cravings under control in a way. So
Imagine
I thought it
that.
was really interesting. Yeah, I really like that because I thought it was really interesting also to see that out of that, they also developed a more slow sex approach to sexuality, where it envelops more pleasure than the, you know, orgasm oriented junk sex mentality that yeah, sometimes we tend to have. I think also, like, for example, in Indonesia, where I live, which is the biggest Muslim country in the world, right? Um, when I joke with my staff, and it's this huge taboo, right? But everybody talks about it. Like all the jokes are mainly about sexuality, just laughing in the kitchen and, you know, making very cheap jokes. So I feel sometimes it's kind of the human brain is wired like this, right? Oh, we're not allowed to speak about it. So we speak about it all the time rather than if it's out in the open and we we kind of create an open relationship with it, it develops more respectfully and kind of into a sacred sexuality, which is what they have in Polynesia.
That's
So I thought it was a
interesting.
really nice example of a tribe.
Do you
So
think
I go
that?
through different tribes throughout the book,
Mm,
linking it to things that I've tried that have changed my life and just finding where they come from, because then you kind of understand how it can evolve in your life too, I guess.
mm. And why did you go to like, you know, tribes as to, like what was your draw to like different tribes around the world and looking for ways that they approach sexuality? Were you just looking for something
It started
different
with
or
my dad. We're talking about JL again.
yes.
So
I
my
love
dad's
that he
born in
comes up every
Africa.
episode.
My dad was born in Africa. And when I started writing about intimacy, he he's kind of a strong man. So he's like, okay, I'm not gonna interfere. Like I'm gonna let you write that because I think now you've got the age where you know what you can and what you cannot write. But when I was in Rwanda, there was this very common like thing, yeah, in fountain women, like fountain women, you know. What do you mean? It's like, yeah, there's this queen, and her husband was at war. So, and sexually, she kind of was missing something. And so she kind of forced one of her servants to come and please her. But the servant was so nervous and he was shaking and shaking and shaking. And he couldn't really like penetrate her, right? But then, because of the shaking at the outside of her lady bit, she kind of squirted. Yeah, I really hate that word, but they call it squirt water. And then that turned into a river, and that turned into Kivu Lake. So basically, generation after generation, the parents, the women on one side and the men on one side in the tribes, take the daughters and the sons apart, and they explain this story to their children. And they explain that for the marriage to work, it is very important, this sacred water. And they need to like learn. There's a whole documentary about it. I looked it up online. It's amazing. It's this Belgian guy. And he was walking past this mattress, which was soaked. And he was like, what happened? You know, and the guy explains, oh, you know, he's super proud. Like, oh, my wife. So he's like, oh my God, this is amazing. So he made this entire documentary about it. It's amazing. So that's where the tribe idea came from, because I was like, okay, well, instead of being like, oh, you need to squirt and the bigger the toy, you know, to like make you squirt, which is totally not what I stand for. I thought this was a nice story. And that's how the tribe idea came into the book.
Oh my God, that's fascinating that this is like an integral part of this tribe's like culture and like oral tradition, things they teach the kids. That's amazing because honestly, I feel like even in like Western culture, the whole topic of I can't even say it without laughing.
It's okay.
Like
sacred water. You can say sacred water.
Sacred water. I like
sacred water is good, right?
I like that better, but I also feel like I don't know. That makes me feel like very yogi talking sacred water.
Well, it's coming from a tribe in Africa, so it's not yogi at all.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Although yoga did get its well.
Are we talking about the same?
There's like two camps that yoga started in India, but then also that it might have started in Africa, like ancient tribes, whatever. We don't have to go down that rabbit hole.
Yoga means union anyway, so.
That is so true. Yeah. But back to squirting for a second. I think it's fascinating. I know I tried. I really took all my focus. But I think it's really interesting that it's this kind of like holy grail type of sexual experience, especially like in porn. Like it's very like I don't know. It's a huge thing like in porn, more so than it is in like even like dialogue about sex, at least in like American culture.
The first time it happened to me, I had no idea what was going on. So I was thinking, what is going on inside of me? Like I felt like this really like this light inside of me was like, you know, just glowing light. And then I started squirting and I had no clue what it was. I was like, oh my God, am I peeing?
Everyone says that. They thought they like peed the bed.
But then it wasn't really coming from the right, like it wasn't the same feeling. And then it kind of just like really like squirted out. So luckily the man I was with knew what it was. So he was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I was like, okay, cool, apparently it's amazing. So then I understood and then I kind of researched it more. And yeah, I don't really have it under control. But it comes now and then. I feel it like really come up from inside. You know how the clitoris orgasm is more like outside and you kind of can control it if you want it, or it's the way you, but there it's like it comes from inside. So it's this really deep, warm and nurturing orgasm, which is also from the clitoris because it's basically clitoris stimulation, but from inside. Yeah. Because the clitoris is like this and this. Yeah. But if you stimulate it from inside, that's where the squirting comes from, because I looked it up as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a whole, that's a central tenet of this book is like explaining the clitoris, explaining that like it can be stimulated from the outside, from the inside, that it's not just like this like teeny little like boop in one place.
Which I had no idea. I had no idea.
Same. Like this
Like not
book
even
was
a year ago.
an education, truly.
This should be taught at school. Come on.
Right.
Or by the parents at least. They probably don't even know.
I know. I know. Well, that's why I love this book so much, because like just the way that you're talking to me about your experiences now and your research, like that's exactly the voice of this whole book. It's very informative, but it's also like funny and anecdotal and interesting. And I love that you're able to like break down these basic concepts about human anatomy that are so foreign. Like, girl, I'm 29 years old. Like, how did I not know that, like, that's the situation that I've been walking around with, like, my whole life? You know,
Absolutely.
it's just weird. I have, like, a huge, and I have a really big gripe with, like, sexual education, especially in the US. I can't speak to, like, your upbringing in Brussels. Um, were you in Brussels when you were like young and learning about all of this?
Yeah, but I didn't learn any of it. Like I do a lot on feeling, but about a year ago, my cousin, so she's a sex therapist and she's amazing. Um, she sent me a video about the clitoris of 1 hour, explaining the clitoris. And then I was looking, I was like, what? How did I not know this? So then I was like, oh my God, I need to know more about me, you know? So that's when I joined. I was in France, and then I was gonna go see her because I was gonna travel through anyway. And then she's like, "Oh, I have my seminar," and I'm like, "What seminar?" Sensuality seminar, and I'm like, "Okay, sign me up." So yeah, and then I bought all the books she had there, and I started like reading all of them, and that's how Slow Intimacy Secrets is born. Yeah, because I was like, "Oh my God, this changed my life. Everybody needs to know this, right?"
And
So
that
yeah.
seminar is like it's a thread throughout the whole book of like kind of how it was structured and what you talked about.
Yeah.
If you had to pick like one or two major takeaways from the seminar, what would you say it was? Besides being inspired to write your own book about intimacy.
So the first thing is body positivity. So I think what really came out of that seminar is that all bodies are beautiful, and they managed in just 6 days to make all the women there comfortable in their body, or more comfortable than when they arrived anyway. So that was a huge breakthrough for me.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, so many things. I need to say just one more, one more. Yeah, I really liked how Ophélie, so one of the sex therapists there, who is my cousin, uh, talked about how to walk and how to the posture and how to like make up and very basic things. But with doing such simple things, you know, you actually changed how you looked, you know? Like she would always say, okay, everybody, nipples to the sky. It's
Yes.
like what? And then I was like, actually, you know, when I'm like this, you know, or I actually Marilyn Monroe, her nipples are always to the sky.
Yes.
Look up all the images online, you know, of Marilyn Monroe. Her nipples are to the sky. So instead of saying like my grandmother always used to say, keep your back straight, you know, and it's like, ladies, point your nipples to the sky.
I
So
don't
that
know
was all.
where I heard this saying, but maybe it's from a movie or something. But I just remember this line of someone, like an older lady, saying, "Eyes up and tits to Jesus."
Yeah. Amen.
So good. I love that, and it's so true. Like, so
Yeah.
what I've noticed. So I'm a yoga teacher, and with the like so much of it is about posture and alignment. Like when you align your body, you align your life, right? But it was
Yes.
so fascinating to me to be, you know, 28 years old before I realized that like my pelvis actually is constantly tilted. Like it's kind of like this shape, and mine was always tilted like to the back.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is like core disengagement, kind of the lazy core. But also part of it is like, I don't know, there's this kind of like pop your booty out a little. And like I realized that actually, if you go from this like backwards tilt to a more like centered place, it like changes everything. My back just cracked when I did that. Like
Yeah,
it truly changes everything. And so
absolutely.
it's funny how it takes kind of like a third party realization moment to be like, oh, I've been walking around in this totally weird position. And what is that
Yeah.
telling my body? Like, what am I internalizing through my posture?
Yes, absolutely. Posture,
Mm-hmm.
you know, such
Yeah,
simple things, but they have so much value.
that's so true. That's very true. And also to, the point about makeup, I've been trying to, in pandemic life, you don't need to like put a face of makeup on every day if you're just like home and whatever, like long live sweatpants forever in the
Yeah.
pandemic. Um, but the difference in just my own mind, like my headspace, when I put on makeup in a day versus
Oh,
nothing,
so good.
right?
Yeah. I
No.
never wear makeup, like ever. Because, in Indonesia, you're sweating. And so, it's just sandy. You go in the ocean. So mascara, it's
Yeah.
just, you're always tanned, you know? So,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Yeah. When you're tan, you're like,
I just
I feel
kind of
cute.
quit. Yeah.
What's that?
So when I got there, and then high heels, they made me walk in high heels. Imagine high heels in the sand. Yeah. But then I don't know, like after these 5 days putting on makeup, and then they did this really nice professional shoot of you, and like, sexy lingerie and just clothes that you love that you brought with you. And yeah, it made me feel really beautiful, like a different kind of beautiful.
Mm. Do you
So I think
think,
it's important for yourself, for your self-esteem, for your yeah. And then I actually loved it so much. I did a professional shoot with one of her photographers, and yeah, when I post these images, people are like, "Is that you?" I even send it to like a graphic designer, like to use as the base of a illustration for a cover, and she's like, "No, that's like a professional image that you took online. We can't use this for your cover." I'm like, "Hello, this is me." This is you?
yes.
I didn't even recognize you. And it just, makes you feel really beautiful, And let's face it, we're all going to get old. We're not going to get younger. So now is the time to like take that time for ourselves and be like, I'm going to be a pinup and I'm going to shoot that. And I'm going to keep this with me forever, in my heart.
Mhm. I love that.
Body
I
positivity.
I feel like a lot of people sort of reserve any kind of like pin-up shoot or a boudoir shoot. Like I feel like that's something that people do as like a wedding present for their husband or whatever. But I
Everyone
love,
should do it once in their life. Really,
yeah, and I love the
really.
idea of just doing it like for yourself.
Yeah.
Like I'm hot, I look good. I want to like
Yes.
remember this. You know?
Absolutely. I look at these pictures and I'm like, half of them, I'm not sure if I'm ever going to post them because they're so sexy. But I'm like, wow, damn, I look really good. I look like like a proper model, and I'm not. But that photographer, he just knows. He's just like, do like this, do like this. And he's hilarious because he's with his big camera. He's got this ponytail. He's tiny and he's like full of energy. And so you see him in his jeans and he's like doing the pinup pose. So you're like pissing yourself and you're like
Yes.
doing the same, and then bam, you've got the shot, and it's just, yeah, it's a really, like, I have goosebumps just speaking about it. It's a really nice experience.
Aw. Would you say
Yeah.
it was like empowering or made you feel vulnerable or
I
how was that
feel
experience?
really good about myself and really beautiful inside and out.
Hmm.
And I keep it with me because I have that whole album. And yeah,
Awesome. Did the shoot happen at the end of the 5-day retreat, or where did it happen in the lineup?
So we did one shoot at the end of the retreat, which was done by my cousin. And then after that, I booked a separate one. I'll put the links in the podcast of the people I did it with, of a professional photographer. And his wife does all the makeup and hair, and he's a photographer. So they only do pin-up boudoir shoots. Yeah.
That's amazing. And I love that structure for the retreat of like doing all this inner work. And then at the end, you're like so bright and shiny when you're coming out of a retreat like that you have these photos like forever. Cool.
Yeah.
So what's our Julie homework of the week?
What is Julie homework of the week?
Last week it was orgasmic breathing.
Okay, so because we have been going through body positivity, I would say go in front of the mirror and get ready for a date with Tom Cruise. So makeup, hair, like a really cute little dress, and just like, get ready for a date with Tom Cruise. And if you're still in love, because we don't know where the world is going, just, have that date with Tom Cruise at home. And if you're not, then go out, stunningly beautiful, and have a date with Tom Cruise.
Yes, I love that. I might swap out Tom Cruise for Idris Elba in my mind, but I do love this idea. And okay, I'm gonna do it, and I'll send you a photo of me looking and feeling all cute. I'm ready.
Yeah.
Well, not right now, but I will be. You
look beautiful.
Thank you, babe. You too. I love it. Okay, I'm here for this homework assignment. I'm ready. Perfect. Well, next we have so much to talk about in this book, so there's plenty more juicy stories next week, and I can't wait to keep making our way through the book and continuing these conversations.
Me too. Thank you, love.
I love you. Thanks for this body positivity reminder. Mwah.
Bye.
Bye, cutie. See you next week.
Slow secrets.